I still remember the feeling of the sun warming my face that Sunday morning as I sat on the patio, savoring a cup of coffee and gazing at my engagement ring. Just the night before, we had celebrated our engagement party with close friends and family. The air was filled with laughter, toasts made to a promising future, and a toast to love that everyone believed would last forever. Or so I thought. By the time the sun set again, my life would take a turn I never expected. Tom and I met 3 years ago at an art gallery, thanks to a mutual friend who thought we'd hit it off. She was right. We clicked instantly, sharing passions for travel, music, and the same quirky sense of humor. Over time, we built a life together, filled with dreams and plans for the future. Tom worked as a corporate lawyer, and I was a budding architect. We both had demanding careers, but we always made time for each other, even if it meant late-night dinner dates or surprise weekend getaways. Our love felt unshakable, like we were two pieces of a puzzle that fit perfectly together. When Tom proposed during a romantic trip to Paris, I was over the moon. My friends teased that it was a storybook proposal, and I eagerly shared every detail with anyone who asked. We set a date for the following spring and began planning our wedding. Every choice, from the venue to the color of the tablecloths, was made with excitement and mutual agreement. We were the epitome of a happy couple, ready to embark on a lifetime journey together. But as the months passed by, I began noticing small, subtle changes in Tom's behavior. He would often be late for our wedding planning appointments or fail to show up entirely. His excuses were always plausible: work running late, a meeting with a client, yet a small voice in the back of my mind began to whisper doubts. There were also times he seemed distant, his eyes clouded by thoughts he wouldn't share. When I asked if something was wrong, he'd plaster on a reassuring smile and say he was just tired. Despite these small red flags, I pushed aside my doubts, attributing them to pre-wedding stress. After all, Tom had never given me a reason to distrust him before. That is until one fateful afternoon when the chinks in his armor were laid bare, exposing a truth that shattered my naive belief in our future. It started with a phone call from a number I didn't recognize. "Is this Sarah?" a hesitant voice inquired. I confirmed, and the woman on the other end introduced herself as Lisa, someone Tom had been seeing for over a year. She'd stumbled upon our wedding website. My heart sank to depths I didn't know existed, and a suffocating weight pressed on my chest. I felt as if I had been thrust into a nightmare from which I couldn't awaken. With shock coursing through me, I confronted Tom that evening. At first, he denied everything, but when I showed him the messages Lisa had forwarded to me, his facade crumbled. We argued for hours, my heart breaking with every excuse he conjured. It turned out that while I was planning our future, he was living a double life, indulging in escapades and feeding off the thrill of duplicity. The betrayal was deeper than I imagined. Not only had Tom been unfaithful, but he had been siphoning funds from our joint savings account to support his lavish escapades. Trips I believed were business-related were actually romantic getaways, funded by money meant for our wedding. Worse still, he confessed he no longer wanted to get married but felt trapped by the expectation of it all. His words cut deeper than any blade ever could. But the ultimate blow was when he refused to return the deposits for the wedding or the engagement gifts. "Consider it compensation for emotional damages," he said with a smug grin that twisted my stomach. For days, I wallowed in a sea of anguish and betrayal. Sleep eluded me, replaced by endless replays of our conversations and a torrent of unanswered questions. I felt like a shell of the person I once was, my world crumbling around me. Yet, beneath the layers of hurt, a simmering resolve began to grow. I would not allow Tom to walk away unscathed after shattering my life. I decided it was time to turn the tables, not out of spite, but to reclaim the dignity he had tried to strip from me. I began by gathering all the evidence I had: screenshots of conversations, financial records, even our wedding contracts. I reached out to mutual friends and family, gathering support and confronting the web of lies Tom had spun. During this, I discovered that many who attended the engagement party had given gifts, not to us as a couple, but directly to Tom. He'd cashed in on their generosity, planning his getaway with Lisa. My resolve solidified, fueled by the injustice of it all. The plan I devised was meticulous yet simple. First, I contacted the wedding vendors, explaining the situation and providing them with documentation. Many were sympathetic and agreed to refund the deposits or transfer them to credit in my name. Next, I arranged for a meeting with Tom, under the guise of discussing a mutual settlement. Little did he know, it was all part of a larger plan. On the day of our meeting, I arrived with not just our friends, but also a few of Tom's colleagues from his law firm. When Tom saw the crowd, his confidence began to waver. This was an intervention of sorts, designed not only to hold him accountable but also to expose his duplicity to those who esteemed him. I presented my case with calm precision, laying bare the extent of his betrayal. The execution of my plan came to a head as I concluded my presentation. Faces in the room were aghast, and Tom stood speechless, his bravado crumbling with every revelation. His colleagues were particularly shocked, especially when I presented the misappropriated funds and lavish expenses that were supposed to be for our wedding. Everyone in the room could see the truth of what he had done, leaving no room for his deceitful charm to work its magic. The climax of this confrontation was when Lisa walked into the room, having been invited by one of our mutual friends who believed she deserved to know the truth as well. Realizing he had lost her too, Tom's expression shifted from anger to panic. It was a moment of poetic justice, watching the walls of his duplicity cave in around him. In the aftermath, Tom faced repercussions far beyond what I had anticipated. His law firm, valuing integrity above all, suspended him pending investigation into his misuse of funds. The chain reaction didn't stop there. In the social circles we frequented, the story of his betrayal spread rapidly. Tom became a pariah, shunned by many who once considered him a friend. Even Lisa, once blinded by his charm, saw the light and walked away, leaving him alone with his reckoning. For me, the result was transformative. I had gained more than just tangible victories, like the return of most of the wedding deposits. I rediscovered a strength within myself that I never knew existed. I was no longer the woman mourning a lost future but a phoenix rising from the ashes of deception. Opportunities began to unfold before me, and with the support of my friends, I poured my energy into my career, landing a prestigious architectural project that I had only dreamed of before. Life after Tom was not just survivable but thrivable. I found solace in new adventures, traveling with friends, and even meeting someone who appreciated me for who I was, not just for what I could provide. My heart, though once shattered, began to heal, stronger and more resilient than ever. Through this ordeal, I learned that betrayal doesn't define you, but your response to it does. I never